So in my last video, I had a question, and it kind of threw me for a loop, but it's a constant reminder for those of us that have been in this space for a little while that constant education is important. Let me just bring this up. So here's my previous video. I got this question. Now, it's extremely important to understand that there's new people coming to this space all the time. And you just can't take for granted what people know and don't know. That's why those of us who believe in this, it doesn't matter whether you have a YouTube channel or not. Those of us who believe in this space, those of us who love cryptocurrency, those of us who believe this is a future, it is our responsibility to always educate people about the mechanics. And I don't mean about what they should or shouldn't invest in, whether they should or shouldn't even invest at all. It's just when people have questions, it's important that we understand their question, that we don't belittle them, that we don't berate them, that we're here to help each other. And we're here to explain as much as we can based on our own understanding. So I got this question, and at first the question threw me back, and then I was like, you know what? I get it. So here, where's it at? Right here. This sensory overload and overlord. So he said, which explains he's clearly overloaded with all this crypto stuff. He said, but the divs we were talking about, he was responding to this video about P3D, and smart contracts, I think, in general probably. But he said, but the divs are very inconsistent, and it only makes sense when you have over 1,000 P3D tokens. I've only got 622, and the returns have been rather disappointing so far. Again, I guess if you've got around 1,000 to 1,200 tokens and more, you will start to see better and faster results. Well, first of all, this isn't really true. Every single token in the entire contract, when there's a sale, so the way it works is every time P3D, and this is the website, let me just pull this up. Every single time that a token is bought or sold, there's a 10% transaction fee. And that 10% fee is split up among all of the other tokens. So every holder of P3D tokens, whether you have 500, 5,000, or 50,000, gets the exact same share of that fee, which it's microscopic, it's minuscule. But on one transaction anyway, but for every buy, for every sell, that 10% fee is spread out among every single token. So let's just say you have 0.00001 P3D per token. Well, if you have one token, that's 0.0001 P3D for that one token. If you have 100, then it's 100.0001 what P3D, because it's per token. So the rate of growth doesn't necessarily change at all. It doesn't change at all because, again, it's based on per token. Let me just get back to his question. So he came back and I said, I think they average around 0.4% per day since inception, and I can't find this. It was like 0.48, 0.49 at one point that they used to have this listed on the website since the inception of the contract, and I've not been able to find it, or I can't figure out where I put it. If you're watching this video and you know where it's at, please put in the comments below where to see that, because it's fascinating. But that was total average, daily average since the beginning of the contract. I said if that holds true, nobody will be able to touch that number. Now, that's an average. It's been as high as 5% per day and as low as 0.001%. But the few extremely high percent days around the launch of new projects makes it worth it. So when P3D launches new projects, sometimes there's tremendous amount of excitement and enthusiasm. There's a bunch of people buying P3D tokens. And when that happens, then there's a whole bunch of buys in. That means there's a whole bunch of 10% paid out because everybody's buying, 10% fees paid out. And everyone who's already holding P3D, you just keep getting rewards. And you just literally, you can just watch your little P3D ticker just zing right up. I mean, it's crazy. And this person came back and just said, I agree. During the FOMO run-up, that was one of the games that P3D has during that run up. So during this time, there was a time here, and I was a part of this, where like everybody was buying into P3D because they were part of FOMO, or the FOMO contract feeds into P3D. That's getting ahead of us. All you need to know, you don't need to worry about FOMO. All you need to know is that there was an event that caused a whole bunch of people to buy in to P3D. There was around 7%, there were a few 7% days in a row. Now I wasn't actually tracking it. This very well could be possible. But that there are days that can be extremely high, plus the largest community. Okay. And Sensory Overload came back and said crypto wealth. Well, ARB makes you around 0.7%. What is ARB? ARB is right here. Now, I haven't talked about ARB. I don't care about arbitraging. This website, arbitraging.co. I don't really care about it, but basically they run allegedly they run a bot. And I say allegedly, and they can prove me wrong one day. But allegedly, they have one of two different bots that are running behind the scenes. And those bots are basically trading cryptocurrency and arbitraging and creating a bunch of trades that are earning micro profits. And those profits get paid out to all of the investors or the people who are holding their arbitrage token. Okay. Hold that thought for a moment. So I responded and said, yes, but no one can prove what ARB is doing. There is no transparent blockchain to review all transactions. Meaning there may be a blockchain, but they have a token, so there's probably a blockchain there, but you can't, there's no one's telling you what's going on. There's nothing to tell you. They've given no proof at all that of how their bots actually work. They've given no proof. And you could argue that, well, if they figured out how to have a bot working, if they're that sophisticated and they're geniuses behind the scenes creating this, keep in mind, there's no one in the history of mankind that has been able to create a bot. And I have failed for this before in this type of thing, but just there are people who have been able to create algorithm trading. And algorithm trading is a real thing. And people have been able to do it, but they've never been able to do it for more than, they're only able to do it in certain market conditions. It rarely can last more than a few weeks or a few days. I personally have created a bot that made it for about 2 weeks. I didn't create a bot. I actually used some software, put in some parameters that essentially worked like a bot. And it worked for about 2 weeks, like clockwork. It was awesome. And then it didn't work anymore. And that's typically what happens with these algorithm trading bots. Wall Street uses these oftentimes, and they work really well in certain market cycles. But no one has ever been able to create one of these that ran long term. So let's just assume that there's geniuses and they've done this. You would assume for them to be able to create an arbitraging bot that they have a trading background, they're mathematicians, they're chartists, they understand technical analysis, all that kind of stuff. You would assume they have to have some of those backgrounds, if not all of them. And they have to be some of the best in their field at it. Mathematical backgrounds, whatever. That's what you would think. That's what most people would think if they were to create this. And let's just assume that that is the case. However, there's no proof of what's going on. It wouldn't matter what their background is, who they are. And I only bring up the background because this is actually the team page. And if you come down here, some people have commented how crappy the website looks. That doesn't matter to me. People have commented, oh yeah, but all their pictures are really bad. And that is true, by the way. I'd never paid attention to these are really poor quality photos. But that doesn't necessarily matter. What's interesting is if you read their recaps, not one, if you look at this little white pop-up, okay, here's the CEO. It's very generic. Not one of them talk about being a trader at all. There's not one person that talks about, there's developers, there's graphic designers, but not one person talks about understanding trading, mathematics of trading. Not one person talks about technical analysis. So you got to ask yourself, well, how does the bot work? How does it work? Again, their backgrounds wouldn't matter. Who they are would not matter. I went to this guy's LinkedIn page. He's the CEO. His LinkedIn page is generic. He's only had basically 2 jobs according to this. There's no educational experience of no kind according to this. I mean, senior sales consultant and strategist, self-employed. What does this mean? Was he running an MLM? I don't know what that means. Worldwide training consultants, that's his education. I mean, this is slim to none for a LinkedIn. I mean, you wouldn't hire someone off this LinkedIn profile if you were trying to hire this guy. But again, that doesn't matter if it was a smart contract, if you could see some proof of what was going on. So let's get back over here. So he says, yes, but they're earning 0.7% a day. And I responded, yes, but no one can prove what ARB is doing or what they're not doing. They could be doing exactly what they say they're doing. They could 100% be doing it, but you can't prove it. And I said there's no transparent blockchain to review all the transactions. I prefer total transparency. And I should have added smart contract in here. And he said, crypto wealth. This is where this video is coming from. Crypto wealth, true. I agree. But then again, how can you verify that you get paid a cut of every P3D transaction? What? If you're watching this video and you don't know the answer to this, then you need to definitely heed the advice that I gave him down below. He said, can you actually prove that you get paid a cut from every P3D transaction? I say question mark, question mark, question mark. Yes. Before even putting one more penny in the crypto space, please understand what a smart contract is. It's impossible not to prove it. The code proves it's an immutable smart contract. Watch this video for a full, complete explanation. And here's a video down here that goes to this page.
What's up, everybody?
Where this gentleman literally goes line by line through the solidity code of the contract, and he explains exactly what's taking place. Now I'm gonna put this video down below in the link in the description of the video you're watching right now, and you can just come down here and click under sensory overload. You can come down and click on this link, and once you get there, it's about an hour. But he walks right through every line of the code and explains what exactly is going on. So what is a smart contract? What does it exactly mean? I found this article on Medium, and I'll put this down below too. And it says, this is important. Smart contracts are immutable. That's amazing, and it sucks. Apparently there are two types of software engineers in the world. One type writes code, pushes it out to the world to see how it works, keep tracks of the bugs, and then goes back to the drawing board, rewrites the code, fixes the bugs, and re-releases. Write, release, fix. Write, release, fix. A never-ending circle, kind of like Windows and just about every major game you've ever played where they do updates. The other type of software engineer seems to be able to write code once, and because it was carefully planned and carefully implemented, it runs correctly forever. Write, release, done. I should probably not admit this, but I'm not the second type of programmer. At least I didn't used to be. Now that I've started learning the smart contract programming language, Solidity, which is what he goes through here in this link, the Solidity code, I think I'm going to be forced to change my methodology. Recently, I wrote a smart contract for what I believe the world's first Ethereum early adopters registry, pronounced EAR. What is an EAR? Have you ever driven down the street of your town and seen the little signs in the store window saying doing business since? That's the idea behind EAR. 20 years from now, hell, 200 years from now, you'll be able to send your customers to the EAR to prove that your company was an early adopter of Ethereum. How do I know you'll be able to come back 200 years from now and the EAR will still be running? Well, this is one of the most interesting things about smart contracts. They run forever. Once a smart contract is deployed, it will run at exactly the same address for as long as Ethereum exists. That's not the only thing. The smart contract code running at the address will never change. How is that possible? It's all in the address. In Ethereum, there are two types of accounts. If you own any Ether at all, you're already familiar with that first type of account. It's where your Ether is. The other type of Ethereum account is called a smart contract. A smart contract can hold Ether in the same way a regular account does, but it also has software code associated with it. Every account, both regular and smart contract, has its own unique address on Ethereum. When you've completed your smart contract code, you deploy it onto the Ethereum network. Deployment means the code is compiled and then stood up so it can run. The smart contract is located at its address now and forever. The address of the newly deployed smart contract is created by hashing together the address of the deploying account and the account's transaction counter called its nonce. Note there are other things involved unimportant to the current discussion. The nonce is incremented each time an account initiates a transaction. Because the nonce changes with each transaction, a contract deployment is a transaction. The resulting Ethereum addresses are unique. In fact, the way the hash function works, each new address is wildly different than the one before it. This is why I say the smart contract runs forever and cannot be changed. Even if you wanted to, and I almost always do, the author says, there is simply no way to redeploy a smart contract to the same address. If the internet worked the way Ethereum does and I changed my website, whatever, to redeployment would move my website to a new address, who knows, perhaps no one will ever find me again.com. Why is this amazing? What makes smart contracts so amazing, in my opinion, is exactly what I've described above. Once a smart contract is in place, it will stay there forever. Not only that, the code at that location will never change. This allows an end user to trust the software perfectly. No one will ever again be tricked into using software that does something untoward behind the scenes. This is important. No one will ever again be tricked into using software that does something untoward behind the scenes. There's no scenes. The software is what the software does. Which means the smart contract for P3D is solid if you read through the contract. It does what it says it does. Nothing more, nothing less. There is no smart contract for arbitraging. It's a coin, you know that, but you cannot prove how or where they're getting their returns. And again, they could, please understand, I'm not knocking these guys. I'm telling you why I don't necessarily like it. I don't see not one financial person on this entire thing, but again, it doesn't mean there's not someone behind the scenes. There are reasons for people to stay anonymous. I get that. But there's absolutely no way to prove how this bot or how this arbitraging is actually working. Where you can prove that with P3D. You can prove it with Linea, Zephyr. You can prove it with all of them because they're smart contracts. You can read the contract. I'm going to read it one more time. No one will ever again be tricked into using software that does something untoward behind the scenes. There are no scenes. The software is what the software does. I didn't mention this earlier, but before you ever agree to participate with a smart contract, you should insist on seeing its Solidity source code. This is important. Zephyr, Linea, all those are correct if you can read the source code. I haven't actually read the source code on any of them. The key really is the Solidity code. The project that I'm most excited about, that I personally invested the most in, is P3D. I have watched this entire video right here. I watched the entire thing. And he tells you exactly what can be changed. And there is one thing in the contract that can be changed. It's very, very minor, but it's worth knowing what can be changed. I don't know. The contract will tell you, by the way, in those other contracts out there, whether it's, Zephyr, P3D, ETH Garden, none of those am I aware of the code. And it's not that the code's not available. Either I don't know how to find it and I've not actually read through it, and I don't understand Solidity. Someone has to explain it to me. He does a great job of doing it here, which is really what gave me a lot of faith in just looking more at P3D and paying more attention to it. Okay. The counterparty should be happy to provide it to you, talking about the code. If not, do not do business with them. With their source code, you can compile and then pull the code behind the address you're given off the blockchain and make sure it's the same. If the source code they're provided is not identical to the code behind the address by jot or by tittle, don't interact with it. I've visited many of Solidity dApps, distributed applications running Solidity code, over the last few months. Some of these sites make the source code very accessible. While it's not easy, you can confirm that the code they say is running is actually running. These type of sites provide all the information you need to generate the bytecode and verify that the code behind the address is what it says it is. This process should be easier than it is, but that's a different story. Other dApps provide no information at all about their source code. I would not interact with these dApps. Who knows what they're doing with your Ether? Again, in other words, if you can't read the code, if you can't understand the code, if you can't trust the code, then don't interact with it. Assuming you can verify a contract and you can read the source code, then you know exactly what will happen when you sign up. That's what this video will tell you. That contract will always be there, and it will always behave exactly as it's programmed. That's amazing. That's something totally new that never existed before, but here's also why it sucks. So he goes on to explain it sucks because you can't change it. He talks about a mistake that he made. And he talks about how you can enter in a kill switch basically into your Solidity contract. And if I remember correctly, when CodeWalk went through that, he actually mentioned that.
What's up, everybody?
And he said that he saw no kill switch at all in the contract. And even if there is a kill switch, the contract doesn't allow any individuals or any person to pull all the Ethereum out of the contract. If the smart contract is solid, then it's solid, it's unchangeable, it's permanent, and it's totally open source. You can see and view exactly what's going on. And that's what's not happening with, for example, arbitraging. Again, all I'm saying is arbitraging is not a smart contract. They're not verifiable as far as their bot is concerned. And if there is, someone show me where it's verifiable and let me know that it is. So today I want to talk to you about, to my buddy here, Sensory Overload. I hope this has been helpful. I appreciate you watching and commenting, because it's comments like this which allow me to have the opportunity to continue to re-educate and explain, because I don't think we're ever going to get away for the next several years of educating and explaining concepts in cryptocurrency. Thank you so much, Sensory Overload, for watching. Thank you so much for commenting. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions and you're currently watching this video, by all means, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you like about the space. What are your favorite projects? What's going on? I'd love to hear about it. Again, please don't include links, because I just will delete your comment. I don't want you to, I want it to be open discussion and education. And please, on my channel, do your best to be nice to one another, be kind to one another. I mean, we're here to help each other. We want mass adoption ultimately, which means we're pioneers in this space. We have to slowly continue to encourage people and educate people along the way. Thank you so much for watching.